I remember the first community we visited was in Italy, after the ones over here, and it was pretty much it was like really like losing the virginity in an alley. It was a very interesting community, but the way we approached it, we were completely unexperienced, and there was language like we barely were able to communicate with. It was German-Italian community, and we have no German or Italian, and the way we called them in the head and what we wanted and the way to say what we want, it was a positive experience, educational in that sense, but we learned very quickly how to approach it, because most communities do prefer that you call ahead and just tell them that you're about to come, and most communities are open for you to come and very flexible, but just this interaction before, I think it's also living in communities later, it's for the sense of intimacy in the community. If people keep coming and going unannounced, I feel kind of barged, or like the door is always not putzim. Yeah, open in a way that sometimes invite too many insensitivities. Then we visited some wolf farms, and it was a lot of couples or small families, and we realized we really want to focus on communities. We saw some communities that are initiated by a couple or by one person, and they could be 20 years down the road, and I saw how difficult it is for them to transition to a group collective process, which is, I completely understand how it happens, but it was a message for us that if we ever want to start something, that we should be careful if we just kind of say, okay, let's just start it now, before we actually find some seed community, a group of people, and not just a single person or a couple. So some of the difficulties I've seen when a single or a couple starts a community is it's similar to an old lady who lives for a long time by themselves. Just that they prefer a set of preferences that's very logical because of their experience on the land, and a new person who comes and tries to join in suddenly has to fit these preferences overnight, or be very accepting to them, because it's already back in the path of the people that are there already. So they already went through the process. They don't want to go back there each time a new person comes. And now I'm thinking about it, that was a lot of difficulties I've seen in other communities that are wider, that there's this, it's not a generation gap, but it's like that, where you have the more veteran members that are a little tired and they just want to kind of live their life, and then you have these new people, because they do need more people, because many of these communities are small, and these new people come with their ideas and changes that they think, and they see things from a very fresh mind, but sometimes immature, and it just creates this friction, and the friction always exhausts at the end. So actually now I'm thinking it's not just that, but it was just more obvious when there was just one person starting it, because I think there's a lot of that energy of a little kind of grumpy energy that concentrates in this one person who's seen a lot. A lot of people have came with exciting ideas, but most of them are young, and their ability to follow through on those ideas or really take it on and manifest them is usually pretty slim. Anyways, I remember actually one of the communities, we also, from just reading of it, we did prefer to visit the secular communities, which are smaller by their nature and younger. And this is something interesting, that the religious and more family-oriented communities do enjoy a greater sense of stability for the most part. And we did end up, just because it was on the way, and we got a very warm welcome to visit in one of the 12 tribes. 12 tribes community is in Germany. And we're closed off and worried, because they are religious and follow through on their belief, on their faith, with a lot of detail, and It's like an all-compassing lifestyle that you join the community, and your whole life is becoming this way of life. But the level of joy and love and care for each other was touching, compared to secular communities that have like an accepting process, where you have to come for a year and stay there for a year and go through all these stages in order to be accepted. In the religious community that we visited, on the day we arrived, one of the people cleared their house and said, "Welcome, stay here forever. You can stay here for as long as you want." There's no accepting process. It's pretty much because their way of life is so clear to them, because they have this confidence in a way that also tribes, like I'm assuming tribes, had you either join the way and join the path, or you will just feel that it doesn't fit, just leave by yourself. There's no need for this artificial process. I noticed that in many communities this whole process of accepting people, kicking out people is very touchy, and it could create big rifts on just this one person that they want to, that question comes, that even that question can come of asking somebody to leave. So that was being part of that whole, and I noticed also what it does to us, and how the support we received just by being there, it's made us get along better. And in a more traditional sense, I mean, the wife has to be more submitting, and there's a division of labor between the men and the women, but it's a way of life, and they found a way to balance it. And there's many more to say about it. I think I'll stop about that community. I learned on this journey the importance of vision, and how when you have a clear vision, it's a lot of the work is there, just having that clear vision, and then the drive just comes and it's focused. So communities that had a very clear vision of what they want, I noticed their level of seriousness and success, and how they can attract people that are precisely in tune with what they want. And this is something I adopted for myself, just adopting visions about how I want to live, how I want my house to be, and then just letting it manifest. We were already very open, but visiting in Spain in a raw food community, permaculture community, being there for a month was like the final thing we need to go through in order to choose to live a life that is supported by a living lifestyle, a live lifestyle that includes living foods. Another thing that was interesting in the secular communities was the fluidity of relationships. How rare it is that a traditional couple will join a community and actually stay a couple once they join, even if the community doesn't especially encourage it. I just noticed that, and from the stories, is what happens that when people share, they don't live in their own separate houses. They share things. They share meals. They share property. They work together. They have more opportunities to meet. Then people fall in love if their heart is open, and a lot of the communities wants the heart to be open, because when the heart is open, people do favors to each other and support each other. So they aim for the heart open, and they do things together, and then you just fall in love like that with 3 people or 4 people. And if you hold on to that one particular vision of serial monogamy, it invites a lot of trouble, because there's all this thing, cheating, not cheating, and you have to choose this one or this one, and it seems incompatible with this more sharing lifestyle. That it comes to the core ownership, a core principle of ownership, and then the ownership of other people. So several communities we visited were either encouraging or friendly to a more open style of relationships, and yeah, this was something I could never come up by myself. I mean, I could never, unless I experienced and being in these communities and seeing how work happens, how it is to feel attracted to someone, and they're attracted to you. What do you do about it? Do you want to lie to yourself, lie to your partner? Or do you want to talk about it and actually talking about it? And the communities have the process and the space to talk about these things and encourage this kind of honesty. There's something very exciting about the energy that creates these communities, because a lot of the material is very fresh. At one hand, you have access. Most of these communities are not in Africa. They are in the richer part of the world. I would say richer, not richer in terms of resources that are available, that can come easily there and are available also because of the level of income you have. So the richer places, you have a combination. Suddenly you have all these seeds of these varieties of plants that never existed here. You have machines like laptops and solar panels that are they have, I guess, a different agenda. Like solar panel is a technology that has a different agenda than the electricity company wants to kind of plug you in. There's a sense of freedom when you have a solar panel. It works only for 20, 30 years, but for those 20, 30 years you have electricity everywhere you go. It's when the sun shines. So you have this combination of abundance, artificial abundance, but abundance of the Western culture, and you suddenly go back to the land and want to live more simple. So this combination creates a lot of new possibilities. So being able to be on the internet and read articles that would never get to you through the public library or through a newspaper because of all the filters and the technical difficulties, and you can be open to ideas that opened up to ideas that radically can change your life. I mean, when you put a group of people in a prison environment and divide them randomly to prisoners and wardens or wards? Wardens.
Guards, you would say. There's only one warden.
I see. Wards and guards. So you divide them to prisoners and guards. Then this is the Lombardo, right? The Lombardo experiment, and you can see what happens when people are in that framework. So what happens when people live in a city? You take 20 people, put them in a city in a small, crammed apartment. What kind of content does that create? What happens when you put them in the wild or in agriculture area? Or what happens when they have children? If the children go to school, don't go to school? There's so many parameters here, and each one of them can create a whole new set of possibilities. And then you have to decide that again. So it's just, this is that sense of freshness that you're pretty much creating your reality as you go. So there's something exciting about it, but I think later you need to kind of get past that pink exciting period and kind of settle down and say enough. And this is maybe what also creates that friction between the older generation and the community and the newcomers that are still in that exciting mode, that want to create, and the ones just want to kind of sit and enjoy what has been created up until now, and they say this is good enough. Let's just enjoy what is.